usually this fight would be a bigger deal. It's a unification at 154 pounds. Xander Zayas and Abass Baraou, credit to them. They're not as celebrated as the interim champion with the WBC, Virgil Ortiz, or the main champion, Sebastian Fundora. Well, Abass isn't. Xander is that next in line from Puerto Rico, hoping to fill that lineage of Miguel Cotto, Felix Trinidad, etc. And then Bakram taking out Tim Tszyu the way he did. Abass is looked at as the weakest link in a very deep division of the champions. But I'm here to say, bro, Abass Baraou is good. Yeah, man. Yeah, he has heavy hands, a really good pressure, a tight high guard,
Educated.
and he's not just a high guard guy per se, because he has a Cuban trainer, like my man Tim Bradley went ahead and informed me recently. Got Jorge Rubio, trains in Florida with Cuban trainers, and right away when I would watch Abass Baraou, and I asked him this heading into this fight, I said he might, because he's got that German background of reminding me of Arthur Abraham, right, with that high guard and kind of exploding out of the high guard with pressure. I think Abraham was a heavier-handed puncher than he was, more of a puncher. But with the Cuban background in his training camp too, he's got a little bit more bend to the waist than Arthur Abraham had. But he told me, yeah, bro, we had the same trainer in the amateurs. He had Arthur Abraham's trainer, so that checks out. He's got a little Arthur Abraham to his game. Xander, along with Abdullah Mason, one of the youngest world champions in the game, I give him credit for fighting in a unification. Both of them are looking to unify in their first fights as champions.
Getting straight to it. A lot of it's very few champions that would in any weight class that will go ahead and do it. So I tip my cap to both guys for stepping up to the plate and making unification fight happen. To your point about Abass Baraou, Sean, interesting style, because he, a lot of people to the untrained eye, he looks like just a straight up and down basic pressure fighter, but I don't quite see it like that. I think it's an educated pressure. I think he has a good understanding of distance. He's got heavy hands. He can punch. When he fought Jack Colque, which is his only professional loss, personally, I thought he actually edged that fight. So I look at him as an undefeated fighter, even though he has that blemish on his record. And his style, it reminds me a little bit somewhere in the middle of Glenn Johnson and like Marlon Starlin. I think he's got heavier hands than a guy like Glenn Johnson, but he had the way he gets into the pocket and the way he holds his hands in the high guard reminds you a little bit of Glenn Johnson. And then as far as Marlon, again, Marlon Starlin wasn't super flashy. Maybe he was more dynamic as far as his punch output, but just when I watch him let his hands go, he reminds me a bit. He's somewhere in the middle of those two guys. So to this fight, I say it's a legitimate fight. Like Xander Zayas, if Xander Zayas pulls this off in Puerto Rico, he deserves legitimate credit, because we just saw Subriel Matias not that long ago go down to Puerto Rico in what was supposed to be his crowning moment, his chance to become one of the stars of Puerto Rican boxing, and he blew it against Liam Paro. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of pressure. No Puerto Rican fighter has succeeded on this stage, since Cotto left boxing.
Man, I love the Glenn Johnson comparison. Correct me if I'm wrong. He trained in Florida.
He did. He's from Glenn Johnson. Moved to Miami when he was like 13 years old. Still lives in Miami right now. Has a gym. So yeah, I mean that. And I mean, I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this. But Rubio's gym, where Rubio trains his fighters, isn't too far from where Glenn Johnson's gym is. And I'm sure their paths have crossed. It's a small world in boxing. That's probably why I'm seeing those similarities.
Let's not forget, Glenn Johnson was the 2004 Fighter of the Year when he knocked out Roy Jones and upset Antonio Tarver to become the light heavyweight champion.
Correct. The Road Warrior. South Florida, stand up.
The what warrior?
The Road Warrior.
And what is Abass Baraou doing in this fight?
He's very much on the road.
And he's fought around the world, I believe, too. Not just in Germany and not just in the United States.
Where else did he fight?
I would have to check again, but I believe he's fought abroad, if not at least those two countries. Puerto Rico doesn't count as a third country, but can we call it 2.5? Because it's a U.S. territory, but it's still Puerto Rico, damn it. So,
yeah.
He's fought at least 2.5 countries.
Exactly.
As of Saturday night.
Yes.
Okay. But to keep this pushing, Glenn Johnson was a guy who, he had a worker bee kind of style. He would break you down with pressure and wasn't the most eye-catching fighter, but
Oh,
there was a sophistication to his workman-like style and pressure. And that's why he became the light heavyweight champion, 2004 Fighter of the Year, out of nowhere.
yeah.
So I love that comparison. I know Marlon Starling's your boy, and he had that high guard. Marlon Starling's awkwardness was
Yeah,
kind of,
fine. I'm probably stretching it a bit, Marlon, but I would say,
yeah.
yeah, Abass Baraou is probably more like Glenn Johnson. And I think, too, that's where the fight is really interesting, Sean, because Xander Zayas, when you start to break him down defensively, right? He's not he's a guy that relies a lot on his feet for his defense, right?
Yes.
So when you got a guy like Abass Baraou who can close the gap and is very methodical and steady with his pressure, it can make things very interesting, in the seventh, eighth, back half of a fight. So that's really why I'm not so quick to write him off like most of the boxing world is.
No, no. And they sparred a lot of rounds together in South Florida, so they
Right.
know each other well. But this is what this fight is to me. It's a serious, grown ass man professional in Abass Baraou who's a silent killer
Mm-hmm.
against a young, ambitious champion in Xander Zayas. You put that together, you're gonna get a good fight. I'm convinced of that. That a serious professional again, a grown ass man against a young, ambitious champion, and that's gonna clash and make for a very, very good fight. You are correct. I think Xander's feet, man, it'll get real interesting if those legs get heavy in the second half of the fight. Abass Baraou had enough to unload a barrage of shots to drop Yoenis Tejas to lift that WBA title off him. So he carries his power all 12 rounds. Can he catch on the guard a lot of Zayas and speed Zayas up? Make Zayas have to move a lot, panic a little bit, and make his legs heavy, and then take it to him in the back half, and not make him as accurate off of his angles and his movements in the center of the ring.
Yeah, and that's the intriguing thing, Sean, is like a lot of the Xander Zayas detractors, they say that he's not, let's say he's not as gifted as let's say a Jerron Ennis or a Virgil Ortiz, right?
He's not just to quickly insert, and then
Go ahead.
he's not the puncher that Miguel Cotto was on the rise and that Felix Trinidad was at the rise. Those two guys had a left hook as a early fighter that made you go, holy shit. Zayas hasn't produced that early on to make you fully believe he is the next Tito Trinidad or Miguel Cotto type fighter. His gift is more his adjustments and his brain. That's what he prides himself on, and that's what's going to be put to the test in this fight.
And one thing I like about Xander, like just his whole come up on the way, winning the world title, is that his best quality is his consistency, his how well rounded he is. If you go and you look at his career, he fought a lot of good veteran fighters, and you look most of these fights, he's never really like losing control. He's normally always the one in control. I just think he's consistent. He's well rounded. He's not a 10 in anything, but he's an 8 in damn near everything. So that's what I think is very interesting about him. What's also interesting too, Sean, is that Xander, he's been very comfortable throughout his career thus far, leading the exchange and counterpunching with both hands, which I think are going to be keys to victory for him. But like I said, Abass has that, Baraou has that familiarity with Xander already from sparring. So I think this fight probably just as much as any fight this weekend is going to be a fight of adjustments, just because the familiarity they have going into the fight.
Yeah, man, his adjustments will be tested because I don't think it's going to be as easy, even though Abass is a come forward fighter, to land on him as you might think. He catches shots very well, and he places shots on the inside and middle to close range very well too, with heavy hands, good body shots, good combination puncher once he gets close to you. So yeah, it's gonna get thick in the back end. Those deep waters are gonna be deep for Xander Zayas in this fight. They got a little deep against Jorge Garcia Perez.
They did. And Jorge Garcia Perez, good fighter, but he's not putting together as many punches as Baraou with the amount of velocity behind the shots. Baraou goes to the body very, very well. So I think Xander has to really pick his spots to counter, and at least in the early half of this fight, he needs to box and pick his spots, and then grow his way into the fight. Don't let Abass Baraou get downhill on you early in the fight, but also like pick your spots when to counter and and get his respect early, because if you can't get his respect early, you saw what Ioannis Talise. He's going to be there the whole night.
That could be an issue, keeping him off when we talk about the power. Touch that body if you're Xander Zayas. He's up here a lot. Find that left hook. Let that left hook to the body find a home.
Do you think with this fight being in Puerto Rico, so let's just say we think Abass Baraou wins 115, 113. Let's say we score it that way. You think he gets a fair shake?
No.
Puerto Rico?
I think there's a chance that this fight requires a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, a little bit of home cooking for Xander Zayas. That wouldn't surprise me. I am picking Zayas in this fight, and I think it's going to be a very competitive fight. And that's that's a bit of a reason too I'm picking him, because I think if it's 7-5, 6-6, he ain't getting out of there with his title. I think that it could be that kind of thing. You know, Danny Garcia, Mauricio Herrera. I'm not saying that kind of robbery, but you know, I'd have to watch that fight again. By the way, everybody called it a robbery. Sometimes people call things robberies that are close, but anyways,
like Lara Canelo.
Like Lara Canelo. Canelo won that fight, in my opinion.
I used to think that Lara was robbed, and I watched it times. And I'm like, nah, he calmed his way to the last 4 rounds.
Right. He coughed it up, got off to a good start. Then he started feeling that power and got on his bike a little too much to be effective enough to beat Canelo that fight. 2 things though. I think there's a strong chance that this could be Xander's last fight at 154. That boy is getting big, man. He's a growing boy. He's huge in between fights, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he could bank this fight and say, "Hey, I did pretty good at 154. I grabbed 2 belts while the rest of you were fucking around and taking your time. I got 2 belts. I'm out of here. You know, I gotta eat a little bit more, man. I'm a growing boy. This weight cut is tough on him. You're gonna see him tomorrow at the weigh-in, or if people are watching this today at the weigh-in, suck dry, okay? And also, the other thing I want to say is this is excellent preparation for Virgil Ortiz for him. This is excellent experience for him, because I think definitely those 2 are going to fight one day. I just don't think it's going to happen at 154.
Yeah. And to your point about him going to 160, it also helps him that, you know, 160 is one of the weakest weight classes in boxing right now. And, I mean, I haven't seen any announcements about Johnny Beck getting stripped, but you know, he's not going to be there much longer. He's already big for that weight class. Belts are going to go vacant soon.
I'll take those, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take those, please. good old Peter Conwell moving right on up to 160. Champ, you know?
Yeah, shit. He might be. But next fight might be a vacant title fight at 160. Now you mentioned it.
Yeah, that's how I see it going. And as far as how the fight's gonna go, my predict for the fight, I think Xander's gonna win on points, controversially. I think it's gonna be very close fight. It's gonna be very competitive, and you're gonna hear a lot of people say things like, "Oh, Boots kills him," and "Imagine what Virgil will do to him," and Bachram will do this. Like, you're gonna hear those kind of things after the fight. But I think it'll be a very, very fun fight to watch. Very high level fight, and he'll get the benefit of the doubt in Puerto Rico. But that should be all the more reason for Abass Baraou to go ahead and really go the extra mile to get Xander out of there, because you know he knows what it is. Like, this is the guy that Top Rank's been pumping money into since he was in high school. You know, he's the youngest fighter to ever sign a contract with Top Rank ever. So, you know, they're not gonna give you the benefit of the doubt at the expense of, you know, all the money that's been pumped into Xander Zayas.
If Xander beats him convincingly, you know, I'm going to hear them, but I'm just going to use it as a phrase of speech. I don't want to hear all the critics of him going, well, yeah, but he picked it. Who was Abass Baraou? And he ducked Virgil, and Ennis cooks him. And if this kid at 22 years old winds up grabbing 2 belts against a quality fighter in Abass Baraou, and if he can win decisively without any controversy, like we've hinted is very possible in this fight, because I can foresee a battle-scarred Xander in the ring saying, you know, he was tough. It was good. It was a very difficult fight. You know, the way I'm moving up to 160 after this, and people, you know, saying it was a robbery when really it was a really tight, close fight. But if he can pull this off decisively, and he does decide to go to 160 or whatever, then I think he deserves a good modicum of credit for sure.
Yeah, because people, I mean, even though he's one of the youngest champions, is he the youngest champion or the youngest champion?
Abdullah Mason, I believe, took
Abdullah, Abdullah,
that mantle. Yeah.
before Mason, it was him. Um, Even though he's champion, he apart from the Puerto Rican fan base, he hasn't really gotten much credit or praise from the boxing community at large. People still say that he's the weak link. Boots and Virgil massacre him. He can't be Bakram. He can't be this guy. So I mean, look, I don't care who it is. This sport is fucking hard. It's a hard sport to succeed in. Anybody who wins a world title at 22 or 23 should be get some credit. But to be a unified champion at 23 years old, that's to be commended. So I hope if he does go on there and give the fight game a great performance we're talking about and beats Abass Baraou, I just hope that he gets some credit from people.
Yeah, I it's kind of says something that doesn't make sense. Modicum is a small quantity of a particular thing. So when I say a good modicum, it's like saying a big small amount of credit. So that didn't actually make sense. Brennan, you are what, my friend? What is your background? Let them know.
Oh, Puerto Rican.
When we promoted Carter in Madison Square Garden, we had the Puerto Rican fan base the day of Puerto Rican Day Parade. We got Xander Zayas now. He's a champion, and it's a difficult fight. He's a hell of a fighter. He's more of a smart fighter than he was. Cotto was smart, and Trinidad was smart, but he's a fighter that uses his boxing IQ, Brendan.